The Comic English Grammar. Chapter 4. Of Adjectives. Section I. Of the nature of adjectives and the degrees of comparison. An English adjective, whatever may be its gender, number, or case, like a rusty weathercock, never varies. Thus we say, a certain cabinet, certain rogues. But as a rusty weathercock may vary in being more or less rusty, so an adjective varies in the degrees of comparison. The degrees of comparison, like the genders, the graces, the fates, the kings of Cologne, the weird sisters, and many other things, are three: the positive, the comparative, and the superlative. The positive state simply expresses the quality of an object, as fat, ugly, foolish. The comparative degree increases or lessens the signification, 039 of the positive, as fatter, uglier, more foolish, less foolish. The superlative degree increases or lessens the positive to the highest or lowest degree, as fattest, ugliest, most foolish, least foolish. Amongst the ancients, Ulysses must have been the fattest because nobody could compass him. Aristides the just was the ugliest, because he was so very plain. The most foolish undoubtedly, was Homer, for who was more natural than he? The positive becomes the comparative by the addition of _r_ or and the superlative by the addition of _sd_ or ist_ to the end of it, as brown, browner, brownest, stout, stouter, stoutest, heavy, heavier, heaviest, wet, wetter, wettest. The adverbs more and most, prefix to the adjective, also form the superlative degree, as heavy, more heavy, most heavy. Monosyllables are usually compared by and ist, and dissyllables by more and most, except dissyllables ending in y or in l before a mute, or those which are accented on the last syllable, for these, like monosyllables, easily admit of and estimated. But these terminations are scarcely ever used in comparing words of more than two syllables. We have some words, which, from custom, are irregular in respect of comparison, as good, better, best, bad, worse, worst, and see. But the Yankee's notion of comparison was decidedly funny. My uncle's a tarnation rogue, but I'm a tarnationer. Section 2. A few remarks on the subject of comparison. Lindley, 040, Murray judiciously observes, that if we consider the subject of comparison attentively, we shall perceive that the degrees of it are infinite in number, or at least indefinite, and he proceeds to say, a mountain is larger than a mite. By how many degrees? How much bigger is the earth than a grain of sand? By how many degrees was Socrates wiser than Alcibiades? Or by how many is snow whiter than this paper? It is plain, quoth Lindley, that to these and the like questions no definite answers can be returned. No, but an impertinent one may ask the first newsboy you meet, any one of these questions, and see if he does not immediately respond, ax my eye, or as much again as half. But when quantity can be exactly measured, the degrees of excess may be exactly ascertained. A foot is just 12 times as long as an inch. A tailor is 9 times less than a man. Moreover, to compensate for the indefiniteness of the degrees of comparison, we use certain adverbs and words of like import, whereby we render our meaning tolerably intelligible, as Byron was a much greater poet than Muggins. Honey is a great deal sweeter than wax. Sugar is considerably more pleasant than the cane. Maria says that Dick the butcher is by far the most killing young man she knows. The words very, exceedingly, and the like, placed before the positive, give it the force of the superlative, and 041, this is called by some the superlative of eminence, as distinguished from the superlative of comparison. Thus, very reverend is termed the superlative of eminence, although it is the title of a dean, not of a cardinal, and most reverend, the appellation of an archbishop, is called the superlative of comparison. Bishop in our opinion, is most excellent . The comparative is sometimes so employed as to express the same preeminence or inferiority as the superlative. For instance, the sentence, of all the cultivators of science, the botanist is the most crafty, has the same meaning as the following: the botanist is more crafty than any other cultivator of science. Why? Some of our readers will ask. Because he is acquainted with all sorts of plants. Chapter 5, of pronouns. Pronouns or proxonouns are of three kinds, namely, the personal, the relative, and the adjective pronouns. Note that when we said, some few pages back, that a pronoun was a word used instead of a noun, we did not mean to call such words as thingummy bob, what's thy name, what do ye call it, and the like, pronouns. And that, although we shall proceed to treat of the pronouns in the English language, we shall have nothing to do, at present, with what some people please to call pronoun _ciation_. Section I, of the personal pronouns. Mr. 042, Adams, don't be personal, sir. I'm not, sir. You, sir. What did I say, sir? Tell me that. You reflected on my profession, sir. You said, as there was some people, as always stuck up for the cloth, and you insinuated that certain parties dined off goose by means of cabbaging fie on their customers. Ask any gentleman in the room, if that and tea personal. Illustration, 051, 043. Vale, sir, what I says I'll stick to. Yes, sir, like vax, as the saying is. What do you mean by that, sir? What I say, sir. You re a individual, sir. You re another, sir. You re no gentleman, sir. You re a humbug, sir. You re a knave, sir. You re a rogue, sir. You re a vagabond, sir. You re a villain, sir. You re a tailor, sir. You re a cobbler, sir. Order, order. Chair, chair. And see. The above is what is called personal language. How many different things one word serves to express in English. A pronoun may be as personal as possible, and yet nobody will take offense at it. There are 5 personal pronouns, namely, I, thou, he, she, it, with their plurals, we, ye or you, they. Personal pronouns admit of person, number, gender, and case. Pronouns have 3 persons in each number. In the singular, I is the first person. Thou is the second person. He, she, or it is the third person. In the plural, we is the first person. Ye or you is the second person. They is the third person. This 044 account of persons will be very intelligible when the following pastoral fragment is reflected on. He. I love thee, Susan, on my life. Thou art the maiden for a wife. He who lives single is an ass. She who any'er weds a luckless lass. It's tiresome work to live alone. So come with me, and be my own. She. We maids are oft by men deceived. Ye don't deserve to be believed. You don't, but there's my hand high-o. They tell us, women can't say no. The speaker or speakers are of the first person, those spoken to, of the second, and those spoken of the third. Of the 3 persons, the first is the most universally admired. The second is the object of much adulation and flattery, and now and then of a little abuse. The third person is generally made small account of, and, amongst other grievances, suffers a great deal from being frequently bitten about the back. The numbers of pronouns, like those of substantives, are, as we have already seen, 2, the singular and the plural. In addressing yourself to anybody, it is customary to use the second person plural instead of the singular. This practice most probably arose from a notion that to be thought twice the man that the speaker was gratified the vanity of the person addressed. Thus, the 045 French put a double monsieur on the backs of their letters. Editors say we, instead of I, out of modesty. The Quakers continue to say thee and thou, in the use of which pronouns, as well as in the wearing of broad-brimmed hats and of stand-up collars, they perceive a peculiar sanctity. Gender has to do only with the third-person singular of the pronouns. He, she, it. He is masculine, she is feminine, it is neuter. Pronouns have the like cases with substantives, the nominative, the possessive, and the objective. Would that they were the hardest cases to be met with in this country. The personal pronouns are thus declined. See page image. Case. First person singular. First person plural. Non. I, we. Possible. Mine, ours. Obj. Me, us. Case. Second person. Second person. Non. Thou, ye, or you. Possible. Thine, yours. Obj. Thee, you. Now the third person singular, as we before observed, has genders, and we shall therefore decline it in a different way. Variety is charming. Third person singular. Case. Mais. Fem. Newt. Non. He, she, it. Possible. His, hers, its. Obj. Him, her, it. Case. Plural. Non. They. Possible, theirs. Obj. Them. We, 046, beg to inform thee that the third person plural has no distinction of gender. Section 2. Of the relative pronouns. The pronouns called relative are such as relate, for the most part, to some word or phrase, called the antecedent, on account of its going before. They are underscore who underscore which underscore, and underscore that underscore, as, the man who does not drink enough when he can get it, is a fool, but he that drinks too much is a beast. Underscore what underscore is usually equivalent to underscore that which underscore, and is, therefore, a kind of compound relative, containing both the antecedent and the relative. As, you want what you'll very soon have, that is to say, the thing which you will very soon have. Underscore who underscore is applied to persons, underscore which underscore to animals and things without life. As, he is a gentleman who keeps a horse and lives respectably. To the dog which pinned the old woman, they cried, underscore Koza, underscore. That, as a relative, is used to prevent the too frequent repetition of underscore who and which underscore, and is applied both to persons and things, as, he that stops the bottle is a cork man. This is the underscore house that underscore Jack built. Who is of both numbers, and so is an editor, for, according to what we observed just now, he is both singular and plural. Who, we repeat, is of both numbers, and is thus declined. See page image. Singular and plural. To despair shall I doom? Which, 047, that and what are indeclinable. Except that whose is sometimes used as the possessive case of which. The roe, poor dear, laments amain, whose sweetheart was by hunter slain. Who, which, and what, when they are used in asking questions, are called interrogatives, as, who is Mr. Walker? Which is the left side of a round plum pudding? What is the damage? Those who have made popular phraseology their study will have found that which is sometimes used for whereas, and words of like signification, as in Dean Swift's Mary the Cookmaid's letter to Dr. Sheridan. And now I know whereby you would fain make an excuse. Because my master one day in anger called you a goose. Which and I am sure I have been his servant since October. And he never called me worse than sweetheart, drunk or sober. What, or, to speak more improperly, what, is generally substituted by cabmen and hack drivers for who, as, the donkey what wouldn't go. The girl what sweeps the crossing. That, likewise, is very frequently rejected by the vulgar, 048, who use, as in its place, as, them as asks shan't have any, and them as don't. Ask don't want any. Section 3. Of the adjective pronouns. Adjective pronouns partake of the nature of both pronouns and adjectives. They may be subdivided into 4 sorts: the possessive, the distributive, the demonstrative, and the indefinite. The possessive pronouns are those which imply possession or property of. These there are 7, namely, my, thy, his, her, our, your, their. The word self is added to possessives, as, myself, yourself, says I. To myself, says I. Self is also sometimes, 049, used with personal pronouns, as, himself, itself, themselves. His self is a common, but not a proper expression. Illustration, 057. The distributive are 3, each, every, either. They denote the individual persons or things separately, which, when taken together, make up a number. Each is used when 2 or more persons or things are mentioned singly, as, each of the Catos, each or the Browns. Every relates to one out of several, as, every mare is a horse, but every horse is not a mare. Either refers to 1 out of 2, as, when I between 2 jockeys ride, I have a knave on either side. Neither signifies not either, as, neither of the Bacons was related to hog. The demonstrative pronouns precisely point out the subjects to which they relate, such a this and that, with their plurals these and those. As, this is a Hoosier lad, that is a Yankee schoolmaster. This refers to the nearest person or thing, and to the latter or last mentioned, that to the most distant, and to the former or first mentioned, as, this is a man, that is a nondescript. At the period of the Reformation in Scotland, a curious contrast between the ancient and modern ecclesiastical systems was observed, for, while that had been always maintained by a bull, this was now supported by a nox. The indefinite are those which express their subjects in an indefinite or general manner, as, some, other, any, one, all, such, and see. When the definite article that comes before the word other, 050, those who do not know better are accustomed to strike out the he in the and, to say, t'other. The same persons also use other in the comparative degree, for, sometimes, instead of saying quite the reverse, or perhaps reverse, they avail themselves of the expression more t'other. So much for the pronouns. Chapter 6. Of verbs. Section I. Of the nature of verbs in general. The nature of verbs in general, and that in all languages, is, that they are the most difficult things in the grammar. Verbs are divided into active, passive, and neuter, and also into regular, irregular, and defective. To these divisions we beg to add another, verbs comic. A verb active implies an agent, and an object acted upon, as, to love. I love Wilhelmina Stubbs. Here, I am the agent, that is, the lover, and Wilhelmina Stubbs is the object acted upon, or the beloved object. A verb passive expresses the suffering, feeling, or undergoing of something, and therefore implies an object acted upon, and an agent by which it is acted upon, as, to be loved, Wilhelmina Stubbs is loved by me. A 051. Verb neuter expresses neither action nor passion, but a state of being, as, I bounce, I lie. Gracious, Major. Illustration, 060. Of verbs regular, irregular, and defective, we shall have somewhat to say hereafter. Verbs comic are, for the most part, verbs which cannot be found in the dictionary, and are used to express ordinary actions in a jocular manner, as to bolt, to mizzle, which signify to go or to depart, to bone, to prig, that is to say, to steal, to collar, which means to seize, an expression probably derived 052 from the mode of prehension, or rather apprehension characteristic of the new police, as it is one very much in the mouths of those who most frequently come in contact with that body, to liquor, or drink, to grub, or eat, to sell, or deceive, and see. Under the head of verbs comic, the Yankeeisms, I calculate, I reckon, I realize, I guess, and the like, may also be properly enumerated. Auxiliary, or helping verbs, by the way, we marvel that the New Englanders do not call their servants auxiliaries instead of helps, are those, by the help of which we are chiefly enabled to conjugate our verbs in English. They are do, be, have, shall, will, may, can, with their variations, and let and must, which have no variation. Let, however, when it is underscore anything but a helping underscore verb, as, for instance, when it signifies to underscore hinder underscore, makes let test and letteth. The phrase, this house to let, generally used instead of to be let, meaning in fact, the reverse of what is intended to convey, is really a piece of comic English. To verbs belong number, person, mood, and tense. These may be called the properties of a verb, and like those of opium, they are soporiferous properties. There are two very important objects which the writer of every book has, or ought to have in view, to get a reader who is wide awake, and to keep him so, the latter of which, when number, person, mood, and tense are to be treated of, is no such easy matter, seeing that the said writer is then in some danger of going to sleep himself. Never mind. If we nod, let the reader wink. What can't be cured must be endured. Section 2. Of number and person. Verbs 053 have two numbers, the singular and the plural, as, I fiddle, we fiddle, and see. In each number there are three persons, as, singular, plural. First person, I love, we love. Second person, thou lovest ye, or you love. Third person, he loves, they love. What a deal there is in every grammar about love. Here are the following lines, by a young lady, now no more, addressed to Lindley Murray. Deserves to be recorded. Oh, Murray, fatal name to me. Thy burning page with tears is wet. Since first to love I learned of thee. Teach me, teach me to forget. Section 3. Of moods and participles. Mood or mode is a particular form of the verb, or a certain variation, which it undergoes, showing the manner in which the being, action, or passion, is represented. The moods of verbs are 5, the indicative, the imperative, the potential, the subjunctive, and the infinitive. The indicative mood simply points out or declares a thing, as, he teaches, he is taught, or it asks a question, as, does he teach? Is he taught? Q. Why, 054, is old age the best teacher? A. Because he gives you the most wrinkles. Q. Why does a rope support a rope dancer? A. Because it is taught. The imperative mood commands, exhorts, entreats, or permits, as, vanish. Thou, trot ye, let us hop, be off. The potential mood implies possibility or liberty, power, will, or obligation, as, a waiter may be honest. You may stand upon truth or lie. I can filch. He would cousin. They should learn. The subjunctive mood is used to represent a thing as done conditionally, and is preceded by a conjunction, expressed or understood, and accompanied by another verb, as, underscore if underscore the skies should fall, larks would be caught. Were I to punch your head, I should serve you right, that is, underscore if underscore I were to punch your head. The infinitive mood expresses a thing generally, without limitation, and without any distinction of number or person, as, to quarrel, to fight, to be licked. The participle is a peculiar form of the verb, and is so called, because it participates in the properties both of a verb and of an adjective, as, may I have the pleasure of underscore dancing underscore with you. Underscore mounted underscore on a tub he addressed the bystanders. Underscore having underscore uplifted a stave, they departed. The participles are three, the present or active, the perfect or passive, and the compound perfect, as, I felt nervous at the thought of underscore popping underscore the question, but that once underscore popped underscore, I was not sorry for underscore having popped underscore it. The 055 worst of underscore popping underscore the question is that the underscore report underscore is always sure to get abroad. Section 4. Of the tenses. Tense is the distinction of time, and consists of 6 divisions, namely, the present, the imperfect, the perfect, the pluperfect, and the first and second future tenses. Time is also distinguished by a forelock, scythe, and hourglass, but the youthful reader must bear in mind that these things are not to be confounded with tenses. Illustration 064. The 056, present tense, as its name implies, represents an action or event occurring at the present time, as I lament, rogues prosper, the mob rules. The imperfect tense represents a past action or event, but which, like a mutton chop, may be either thoroughly done, or not thoroughly done. Were it underscore meat underscore, we should say, underscore underdone underscore, as, when I was a little boy some 15 years ago, my mammy doted on Milork. She made me quite a show. When our reporter left, the honourable gentleman was still on his legs. The legs of most honourable gentlemen must be tolerably stout ones, for the majority do not stand on trifles. However, we are not going to commit ourselves, like some folks, nor to get committed, like other folks, so we will leave honourable gentlemen to manage matters their own way. The perfect tense declares a thing to have been done at some time, though an indefinite one, antecedent to the present time. That, however, which the perfect tense represents as done, is completely, or, as we say of a green one, when he is humbugged by the thimble-rig people, regularly done, as, I have been out on the river. I have caught a crab. Catching a crab is a thing regularly, in another sense than completely, done, when civic swains pull young ladies up to Richmond. We beg to inform persons unacquainted with aquatic phraseology that pulling up young ladies, or others, is a very different thing from pulling up an omnibus conductor or a cabman. What an equivocal language is ours! How much less agreeable, 057, to be pulled up at the police office than to be pulled up in a rowboat. How wide the discrepancy between pulling up radishes and pulling up horses. The pluperfect tense represents a thing as doubly past, that is, as past, previously to some other point of time also past, as, I fell in love, before I underscore had arrived underscore at years of discretion. Illustration 066. The first future tense represents the action as yet to come, either at a certain or an uncertain time, as, the tailor underscore will send underscore my coat home tomorrow, and when I find it perfectly convenient, I underscore shall pay underscore him. The second future intimates that the action will be completed, 058, at or before the time of another future action or event, as, I wonder how many conquests I underscore shall have made underscore by tomorrow morning. N.B. One ball is often the means of killing a great many people. The consideration of the tenses suggests various moral reflections to the thinking mind. A couple of examples will perhaps suffice. 1. Present though moderate fruition, is preferable to splendid, but contingent futurity, i.e., a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. 2. Imperfect nutrition is less to be deprecated than privation of aliment, a new way of putting an old proverb, which we need not again. Insert, respecting half a loaf. Section V. The conjugation of the auxiliary verbs to have and to be. We have observed that boys, in conjugating verbs, give no indications of delight, except that which an ingenious disposition always feels in the acquisition of knowledge. Now, having arrived at that part of the grammar in which it becomes necessary that these same verbs should be considered, we feel ourselves in an awkward dilemma. The omission of the conjugations is a serious omission which, of course, is objectionable. In a comic work, and the insertion of them would be equally serious, and therefore quite as improper. What shall we do? We will adopt a middle course, referring the reader to Murray and other talented authors for full information on these matters, and requesting him to be content with our confining ourselves, 059, to what is more especially suitable to these pages. A glance at the carmicalities of verbs. If being a youngster I had not been smitten of having been jilted, I should not complain. Take warning from me, all ye lads who are bitten, when this part of grammar occurs to your brain, as there is a certain intensity of feeling abroad, which renders people indisposed to trouble themselves with verbal matters. We shall take the liberty of making very short work of the regular verbs. Even Murray can only afford to conjugate one example, to love. The learner must amplify this part of the grammar for himself, and we recommend him to substitute for to love some word less harrowing to a sensitive mind, as to fleece, to tax, verbs which excite disagreeable emotions only in a sordid one, and which also, by association of ideas, conduct us to useful reflections on political economy. We advise all whom it may concern, however, to pay the greatest attention to this part of the grammar, and before they come to the verbs regular, to make a particular study of the auxiliary verbs, not only for the excellent reasons set forth in Tristram Shandy, but also to avoid those awkward mistakes, in which the carmicalities of the verbs, or verbal carmicalities, chiefly consist. Did it rain tomorrow? Asked Monsieur Grenell. Yes, it was, replied Monsieur Crapaud. We propose the following as an auxiliary mode of conjugating verbs. I love to roam on the crested foam, thou lovest to roam on the crested foam, he loves to roam on the crested foam, we love to roam on the 060 crested foam, ye or you love to roam on the crested foam, they love to roam on the crested foam, and c. The auxiliary verbs, too, are very useful when a peculiar emphasis is required, as, I shall give you a drubbing. Will you? I know a trick worth two of that. Do you, though? It might, as the Quaker said to the Yankee, who wanted to know what his name might be, it might be Beelzebub, but it is not. Illustration, 069. Now we may as well say what we have to say about the conjugation of regular verbs active. Section 6. The conjugation of regular verbs active. Regular verbs active are known by their forming their imperfect tense of the indicative mood, and their perfect participle, by adding to the verb ed, or d only when the verb ends in e, as present, imperfect, perf, participle. I reckon I reckoned, reckoned. I realize, I realized, realized. Here, 061, should follow the conjugation of the regular active verb to love, but we have already assigned a good reason for omitting it, besides which we have to say that we think it a verb highly unfit for conjugation by youth, as it tends to put ideas into their heads which they would otherwise never have thought of, and it is moreover our opinion that several of our most gifted poets may, with reason, have attributed the so unfortunate attachments which, though formed in early youth, served to embitter their whole lives, to the poison which they thus sucked in with the milk, so to speak, of their mother tongue, the grammar. We shall therefore dismiss Cupid, and he must look for other lodgings. Passive verbs 062. Passive are said to be regular when their perfect participle is formed by the addition of d or ed to the verb, as, from the verb to bless, is formed the passive, I am blessed, I was blessed, I shall be blessed, and c. The conjugation of a passive verb is nothing more than the repetition of that of the auxiliary to be, the perfect participle being added. And now, having cut the regular verbs, as Alexander did the Gordian knot, instead of conjugating them, let us proceed to consider the Section 7. Irregular verbs. Irregular verbs are those of which the imperfect tense and the perfect participle are underscore not underscore formed by adding underscore d or ed underscore to the verb, as present, imperfect, perfect part, I blow, I blew, blown. To say I am blown is, under certain circumstances, such as windy and tempestuous weather, proper enough, but I am blowed, it will at once be perceived, is not only an ungrammatical, but also a vulgar expression. Great liberties are taken with the irregular verbs, insomuch that in the mouths of some persons, divers of them become doubly irregular in the formation of their participles. Among such irregular verbs we may enumerate the following: present, imperfect, perf, or pass, part, were been, burst, bust, busted. 063. Present, imperfect, perf, or pass, part, see page scan. Section 8. Of defective verbs. Most men have 5 senses. Most verbs have 6 tenses. But as there are some folks who are blind, deaf, or dumb folks, just so there are some verbs defective, or rum verbs, which are used only in some of their moods and tenses.